Okay, now that we have our scenes loaded in our level, and we know that we can transition between level 4 and level 5 within the game, and the game will understand what we're trying to do. Now we have to actually make it so that when you cross the finish line, it changes to the next level. So, I'm going to do a couple of things just to make sure that I know that I've switched levels. So, before I had level 4 and level 5 both had a red kind of platform. I think I'm going to create a new material just to make sure it's really easy to know that we've gotten to our second level. So let's do matte floor 2. Matte floor 2. Let's make it, I don't know, like a bluish, I guess. It's kind of cool. Sweet. And then change that to that. So hit save. Level 4 has the red back floor, and level 5 has the blue. So in level 4, what we're going to do, or actually it doesn't really matter, what we're going to do is go into our script. From in here, we have a on-trigger event that will trigger every single time we pass our finish line, because that is a triggerable event. You can remember we did that here, is trigger. So instead of saying you have finished N1, you have finished the level. Seems a little bit more appropriate. And then we're going to have it transition to the next scene. In order to do that, we have to go up here and start using a different library that Unity uses in order to manage all of our scenes and how we interact with them. So how we're going to get to that is using Unity engine dot scene management. And then a semicolon at the end, because this is a statement saying that we are going to use this. Basically what this is doing is, if we had a computer programming language that contained all of the scripts and all of the things that we needed to run any type of program at all times and use all of the features that were available at all times, in order to compile this code, in order to make it so that it's actually runnable, you would have to add on all of those features and all those add-ons that you're not using, and it would take absolutely forever. It would probably be impossible, but if not, it would have to load every single extra feature that you could possibly have within your game, even if you're not using them. So because that would be so resource intensive, because that would take forever to load and make the file sizes for your game be ridiculously large, they made it so that it's all modular. So this C# script starts off having nothing but kind of the basic functionality. And then we have the ability to add on extra modules like the Unity engine, and in this case, the Unity engine scene management package, as we need them, so that we only load what we need in the script, and it'll run much faster and it'll be a much smaller file size. So now that we have the scene manager up there, again, using Unity engine.scene management and in a semicolon, we'll now go down here and we want to manage the scene. We want to bounce to another scene. So you can go to the scene manager class dot, and we want to load the next scene, right? So load scene. Now we need to tell it what scene to load. If we're going to make just 1 or 2 levels, that becomes fairly easy. We can make it so that it loads a very specific scene. So our scene was called level 5. So level 5, that does have a capital L and the number 5. And as long as we put that in quotations and end with a semicolon, it should work. Let's give it a shot. So hit Control S to save, go in, make sure we're in level 4, and then hit play. Assuming I can win my game. Boop. There it goes. It successfully loads scene 4. Scene 5. But notice now it's continuously loading scene 5 regardless of what's happening, right? So that is one good way of doing it. The other way we could do it is to make it so it iterates. Now you might see a problem here where this script player controller is used by the player in both the level 4 and level 5. So if I wanted to create more and more levels and more scenes, every single time he hit that endpoint, he would only ever go to level 5, which wouldn't be helpful. That means I'd be stuck on that level forever. So another way that you can do this is iterate through the levels by calling out a slightly different function. So instead of just saying go specifically to level 5, we want to figure out what the next scene is. In order to do that, we have to first find out what our current scene is. So, as you might guess, we could look up Scene Manager, because that's what all of our scenes information is stored in, dot, and then get active scene. So this gets the active scene. And notice right there, you can see two little parentheses ending it. So that means that when I hit this, I'm going to put two parentheses. So this would just load the same scene over and over again. But what we could see that the get active scene within it can give us the index of the build. So what that means is if I go back in here into my build settings, each one of these has an index number. So level 4 is 0, level 5 is 1. This is the order of operations that these scenes are loaded in. So all we have to do is get that number and then add 1 to it to find the next scene. So if we're on level 4, we would get the scene's build index, which would be 0, and then on top of that we would add 1, and then we get scene index 1, which would be level 5. So let's try that. Get active scene dot build index, and then add 1. Let's see if that works. So control save, go back in here, load C level 4, hit play. Boop. And there we are. Boop. Now, there's only 2 levels, which means once we hit the ending finish line, it had nowhere else to go. So if we look at this, we notice up over here that there's an error. So if I click on that little red guy right there, which is the error, we can see that a scene with the build index of 2 could not be loaded because it has not been added to the build settings. So what that is saying is that in the build settings, there is no scene with a build index of 2, which is correct. We have 0 and 1, level 4 and level 5. So what you might want to do in the future is add a if statement that checks to see if there is actually another level. And if there is, it loads it. If not, then it doesn't load it. But that's a problem for you guys to solve. All right, and that concludes this particular section on both loading and transitioning to a new scene. So what's cool about where you guys are right now is that you have a fully functional game. You have a game that has multiple levels. It has obstacles that can stop you on your way. It has a finish line that allows you to transition to the next level. You have a game. So from here on out, what we're going to be doing is adding in features and just polishing up that game to make it uniquely yours. All of the decisions as far as what it looks like and feels are all up to you. We'll go through the basic mechanics of how to create different things, But after this, the decisions are primarily yours. Just like where you put these borders or what color you made your player, all of the terrain, all of the loading screens, everything is for you to figure out, design, and make this game uniquely yours. So I'll see you in the next section.